Hi, my name is Palmer Muntz, and on behalf of the Association of Regional Representatives of Oregon and Washington, I'm pleased to welcome you to this little presentation about how the Western Undergraduate Exchange can help make it more affordable to go to college out of state. One of the great things about living in the United States is that we have so many choices when it comes to college. We can go to a number of schools, maybe in our local area or within our state, but also across the entire country. In fact, the number of choices can be overwhelming. Some people think that they can't afford to go to school in a different state because it's going to be too costly. And the truth of the matter is, that's fiction. It does not always cost more to attend college in another state. In some cases, schools may have special scholarships just for non-residents to attract them into their state. Often, universities and colleges will have academic scholarships and other merit awards. And of course, they offer need-based aid in many cases. Sometimes, too, it can simply have cost less to live in different parts of the country. But we're going to focus in particular on the Western Undergraduate Exchange. We often call it WUE because the Western Undergraduate Exchange is just such a mouthful. So WUE is a program that is offered through WICHE, the Western Interstate Commission on Higher Education. About 160 public universities participate in the WUE program, both community colleges and four-year universities. WUE is a tuition reduction program. And if you're able to go to an institution that gives you WUE, you'll pay no more than 1.5 times the cost of in-state tuition. Now, it's important to note that this is only at public universities and public colleges, because private colleges and universities almost always charge the same tuition regardless of your residency, regardless of where you're from, while public universities usually charge a lower tuition to their state's residents and more to students from other states. Another important thing to know is that WUE is not automatic in many cases. So you may look at a university and find out that it offers the Western Undergraduate Exchange. That doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get it. So why is WUE a big deal? Just as an example here, I want to show you how much you can save in tuition with WUE versus being a non-resident student at some of these schools. And as you'll see, the cost savings can be anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 or $16,000 or even $17,000 a year. So this is significant. Here's a map that shows you the states that participate in the WUE program. Not every public university or public college in each of these states is a part of WUE. Only some of them are. So for instance, in California, I don't believe that any of the University of California campuses participate in WUE, but some of the Cal State University schools do, just for example. One of the great things then, though, is if you're from Oregon or Washington, and maybe you'd like to go to school in Arizona or Colorado or Alaska, you have the opportunity to do so without it breaking the bank. How do you find schools that might have WUE for you? Probably the easiest resource is at www.wiche.edu/WUE. When you get there, you'll see an explanation of the WUE program. But if you look to the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see a link that says WUE Savings Finder. Click on that, and it'll take you to a search engine where you can look by state or by institution and some other things to find out which schools offer WUE. As you click through this, you'll also see a link where you can look up by major, where you can find your academic program within WUE. One thing I'll mention to you is that this website isn't necessarily updated all the time. I believe it only gets updated once a year. So sometimes it's a little bit out of date. For instance, a school may have just added a major and it may not appear here. I've also seen where sometimes universities or colleges will have a different name for a program than what you're searching for. For instance, they might have a program called Applied Psychology, and you search on psychology only and you miss it. So just be aware of that. Having identified through the search engine some schools that offer WUE, you're going to want to check out each school individually on their own website. Look up their WUE policy, and often you can just simply Google on the name of the school and WUE, and one of the first results will take you to information about their program. One thing that's a little bit challenging is there's no one general WUE application. So each university has its own process for how they'll award WUE. As you're applying for WUE, some things you might want to be aware of are some schools have fairly early deadlines, and they may even award WUE on a first come, first served basis. So you may want to get moving fairly early with your application. Also, some universities will simply ask in their application for admission, would you like to be considered for WUE? Others will have a separate WUE application you need to complete in addition to the admission application. And you may be asked to write an essay or whatever in order to be considered for WUE. There are some universities that treat WUE as a type of almost an academic scholarship, and they'll have minimum cutoffs for GPA or even may require SAT or ACT scores. Sometimes these GPA cutoffs are not very high. Other times they can be as much as, having to have a 3.8 or a 3.9 high school GPA. One thing I'll mention is that if you're interested in a school and they don't offer WUE, or perhaps they have WUE, but they don't award it to you, don't necessarily give up on that institution, because sometimes they'll have other scholarships that you can receive that'll be almost as good as WUE. Then one final caveat I'll mention right here is you cannot accept WUE and then turn around and seek residency in that state in order to get an even lower in-state tuition. Another question you'll want to ask as you're looking at different WUE policies and talking to different schools is, will you allow me to stack other scholarships on top of WUE? Some institutions have the attitude, understandably, that WUE is such a generous program, that's the best we're going to offer you. Others will allow you to add academic scholarships or other types of institutional aid on top of that. All of them will allow you to use your federal financial aid, such as Pell Grants and direct student loans, in addition to WUE. I hope this little introduction has been helpful to you. On behalf of the Association of Regional Representatives of Oregon and Washington, I want you to know that we're here to help you in your college search. Please reach out to us anytime. We'd love to have you consider our colleges. Thank you.